with a lot of experience in South Australia, with some of them with some reasonable discovery success as well. And then I said, well, we talked about the right commodity and the right timing. And this whole copper boom, I sort of thought, well, how much copper does this all mean? So I had a look at this Wood Mackenzie report. And I think the sentence that I sort of blows you away a little bit is the industry will have to deliver new projects at a frequency and consistent level of investment never previously accomplished. I said never previously accomplished. Okay, what does that mean? We have to actually ramp up our production by 30%. And I thought, well, what does that mean in terms of what do we have to discover? We actually have to not only discover, but bring 47 Olympic dams into production for this copper boom and the net carbon zero targets to be met. It's a pretty big number. So we're going to just try and find one of them this year would be great, and we'll just do our part. Where are we? Copper Search's ground up in the top corner of the Gawler Craton in South Australia, just up the road from Hill, OD, etc. And I guess, well, this area, we keep saying it's got this Cloncurry style IOCG mineralisation, and it was always sort of touted, and it was what was the evidence for it. And I guess the idea was, a long time ago, over 1.5 billion years ago, the idea is that the Gawler Craton used to be joined up to the eastern succession, or where Cloncurry was. And so the rocks and the mineralisation age is more Cloncurry. It's 50 million years, a little bit too young to be a Carrapateena or Olympic dam style of mineralisation. So it was thought, well, okay, maybe there's not IOCG mineralisation there. But I guess that, again, coming back to the recent discovery success next door, proved that this is actually, was now proven that this is what had happened. And I guess it's a bit of sometimes it's about the right timing as well. So, Copper Search started pegging this ground 5 or 6 years ago, and just started building a ground position. We own probably a good half of it, at least, and the explorers right next door to us over here on the Wills prospect with that and the Mawson prospects making discovery success along this big Carrari shear zone here, which is important. This Carrari shear zone is a splay which comes down around here, and a lot of our work over the last 12 months has been doing a lithostructural analysis of this area and identifying the best places to allow that IOCG mineralisation to form. And hence we've picked out there's 1, 2, 3, 4 best targets that we're going to go out and drill. We've got a couple of other little programs, regional AEM surveys, which are kicking off in about 2 weeks' time. As I said before, very underexplored area. Previous exploration, a lot of it was for uranium and other commodities, etc. And again, lithostructural analysis. We spent quite a bit of time on that last year. Again, wanting to just put the drill holes in the right place. I guess time will tell on that one. But we did a sort of fairly rigorous target ranking system as well, and applied that across. We had probably, I think, around 70 different target geophysical anomalies in our area, and we've whittled that back down to 6 at the moment. As I said, drill testing the highest priority targets is coming up in late March, and we're also about to kick off a 1,500 metre line kilometre AEM survey over some other areas to the north, looking at the ISCG potential of the area. Again, just coming back to what were our highest priority drill targets. There's 4 of them there, some pretty decent sort of milligal responses. So that's a measure of the excess mass, or how much metal or something that's fairly dense could be there, and the scale potential there, as you see, sort of in that sort of 800 metres wide, 1,400 metres long. Again, you can have a look at this in our micromine and our 3D models at the booth, number 71, if you want to take a look at that. Phase 2 drill program, another 2 targets as well. Some of the information we get out of drilling the first 4 will help inform us of whether we want to continue with those other 2. And there's sort of a contingent, there's a couple of others hanging out there that we haven't put on the high priority list yet. Again, this 4 targets will help inform us of those, any further targets down the track. The Kurta Merca target, etc. And it's probably a lot easier to sort of really talk to this again in the 3D model at the booth if you'd like to. But the sort of scale potential again, in that sort of couple of thousand meters long on this target, 450 meters wide, and a few hundred meters thick. And some of them, again, a great gravity and mag target on the primary target there, and a secondary target, which is a weaker magnetic response, but again, a great gravity response as well, which is our primary part of our target model. And just as a bit of a summary, just to finish off, so Copper Search in one page, 5,500 square kilometres in the Peak and Denison domain. Our main project, our only project, the Peak project in top of South Australia, recently confirmed as equivalent to the copper-rich Cloncurry district in Queensland with Cloncurry-style OSCGs. So a great little address there. And sometimes it's about timing, getting that footprint, building up that footprint of ground over the last 5 years, unlisted, bring it onto the market, copper price and copper demand, I think over the next sort of 10, 20, 30 years in a really strong position. We've built a really good geoscience team. We've got the 6 priority targets set. We've got heritage clearances over all of the targets. We'll have drilling permits hopefully in the next couple of weeks, and then be putting the rig out in the paddock towards the end of March, and fully funded $7.5 million in the bank. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll talk about investing, and we'll talk about your climbing attributes later on in the day, and pretty impressive. Now, there's a lot I could say about the skill set of this fellow as he comes up to join us today. 25 years, pretty impressive skill set as well, and worldwide experience. And he's here, of course, to address us about global lithium, correct?
I am.
All right.
Carnaby Resources is up on the screen. I
Company.
definitely don't work for this company.
Wait 1 second before you get underway. Just press pause for a second. So the company was rated top IPO in 2021, correct? I don't want to know that, because we mentioned at the start of the day that out the front of admin was parked an EV Porsche, the future of power on our roads. So I had a couple of questions for you. 1, don't you trust the rest of us in the public car park? 2, is it actually your Porsche, Global Lithium's Porsche, or is it here just to tease us all and you?
They're all good questions. Full disclosure, it's absolutely not my Porsche. It's one of our very trusting shareholders. So thank you, Tina. I think she's in the audience.
Okay.
And I do trust everyone in the room, of course. You're all miners. You're all very trustworthy. So I hope that's covered you off.
I thought maybe you'd park it if there were lots of Tesla drivers or something, that just as a combustion engines you had a problem
Too
with.
many Teslas, not many Porsches around.
Right,
Full electric
let's
Porsches.
talk global lithium. Would you put your hands together, everyone, for the one and only Ron Mitchell?
Thanks, Chrissy. Thanks to Jackson and Stewie for the offer to come down and join this marvellous event. So thanks very much. A great privilege to talk about global. We had a fantastic announcement out this morning with regards to scoping study results for our Manor project. And the beauty is having 2 projects. We've both got the advanced exploration underway at Marble Bar. And we've got a project that is going to be a mine of the future, 100% categoric about that fact. So I always like to touch on the purpose and values. Pretty competitive space out there for human talent. And we've been really blessed with some of the expertise that's joined our company over the last 6 months. And it's been a big focus of mine. Obviously, having a great asset in the ground is one thing, but having a brilliant team to be able to unlock its value and ultimately bring it to market is the next big challenge. And that's our focus and will be my focus going forward. We keep it simple as a company, empowering our people to power the planet. And every one of our employees lives and breathes our core values. So let's take you on our story. It's a good one. So what makes us unique on a global basis? We've got 2 projects, first and foremost, in this wonderful jurisdiction of WA. A combined equity mineral resource of over 50 million tonnes at 1% lithium oxide. And both of these projects are outcropping spodumene-bearing pegmatite, so the best raw material for the lithium industry. Both of our assets are JORC compliant. Really important. It's hard to get to JORC compliance in lithium. We own 2 of only 14 JORC compliant lithium assets in Australia. And as we all know, exploration comes with risk, and we've delivered on both of our projects. We've got very good industry credentials within the team, some fantastic partners on our register, and again, of course, this wonderful jurisdiction that is WA. And just touching on the team, board and management, we've got some heavyweights on the board, Greg Lilliman, obviously, but as a board, without going into the individuals in the interest of time, with Tony Chamberlain joining us as project director and really leading our scoping and feasibility study work this year, we've got a board and management team with over 150 years of WA resources experience, and that's formidable, both from early stage exploration all the way through to development, construction and operations. And as a board and management, executed close to $100 billion in projects on a global basis. We've got a sticky, you might have to help me out with the next slide. Here we go. Snapshot on the company. Again, pretty tight register, 257 odd shares on 1 million shares on issue, a market cap of just over 500 million. Importantly, we're strongly positioned from a cash balance perspective, about 76 mil in the bank. A really well-diversified register, a couple of strategics on there, Mineral Resources, of course, at 9.7, Suzhou TANA, one of the largest lithium producers in China, a couple of high net worths, board and management with skin in the game, and we've got a nice mix of retail and institutional investors. And what we're likely to see going forward as we move through development is that institutional base build out. I'll talk about jurisdiction. It's important. I think WA, and I'm amazed at how little we recognise how brilliant this jurisdiction is. It's supplying more than 50% of the world's lithium. It always has, and it always will supply more than 50% of the world's lithium, in my view, for a number of reasons. The technical, commercial, legal, infrastructure, geologic, all of this talent pool we have at our disposal is world-class and peerless. I call it the expertise ecosystem, and it's something else that no other jurisdiction on the planet has. So I think everyone in the audience should be incredibly proud. We're all in this together, and I'm a big hard rock fan, hard rock lithium fan. I think hard rock lithium is going to really lead the world in terms of additional units of supply to market going forward. And just going by some of the discussions we're having with the downstream partnership piece, there's just phenomenal interest. So just a quick update. The back end of last year was a busy one for us. We announced a significant resource increase across both projects, about 150% increase in our total tonnage, up to 50.7 million tonnes, and specifically a 230% increase at our Mana project, and a 71% increase at Marble Bar. So both of these projects, we've got a significant drill campaign ahead this year. There's incredible upside across both projects as we continue with our exploration, but most importantly, we get started with development on our Mana project, which I'll touch on shortly. I mentioned the cash at hand. We did complete a 110 mil institutional placement late last year, and that was incredibly oversubscribed, as you can imagine. But importantly, we brought about 40, 50 institutional, sort of mostly long-only funds onto the register, which is important. As part of that fund, we acquired the remaining 20% stake in the Breaker resource of Mana, which allows us to control that and develop it unencumbered. So it was a terrific result for the company. Very strong support from our existing strategics. And of course, that equity that we've raised allows us to develop a number of activities, advanced metallurgy this year, scoping, feasibility, ore sorting trials. And of course, we're going to look at some downstream optionality as well with regards to Mana. But importantly, it means we're fully funded all the way through to FID. We do have a couple of very important strategic partners on our register. Of course, Mineral Resources, always acknowledging this wonderful company that has an incredible track record of developing projects and is a world leader as it relates to lithium. There's some great synergies between our project and, of course, their asset up in Wodgina, owned under a JV, and similarly down around the Kalgoorlie region. Our Mana project's about 140 odd kilometres from the Mount Marion asset. And similarly, Suzhou TANA, it's an associate of the CATL group. Those two entities control a very large lithium hydroxide production company based in China, but they're giving us wonderful access to this this downstream lithium expertise as well. So we're very grateful to our two strategic shareholders. Collectively own about 20% of the company. Okay, let's talk about Mana. I have been saying publicly for quite some time, this will be a mine of the future. The geology is significant. It's an outcropping pegmatite. We have 100% ownership, 32.7 million existing resource. There's more to come in terms of that resource. It will build throughout the course of this year. We do have a secondary upgrade in Q2. We've got about 5,000 samples which are awaiting assay and will come to market in due course. And we do have a 30,000 metre RC campaign scheduled for this year as well. And as soon as it's cool enough out the other side of Kalgoorlie, our geo team will be out in the field. And again, a wonderful jurisdiction from an infrastructure perspective, only 100 kilometres out to the east of Cal. This is the asset, and I've got a pit design on the right there. This was included in our scoping study announcement this morning. This is an open pit mine. We've got fantastic lithium mineralisation near surface. As a fly through, we'll show you in just a moment, this will be an open pit mine of the future. So just stepping through the scoping study results. This one? Okay, that's better. The scoping study, we've got a nameplate ROM of 2 million tonnes, estimated production of an SE 5.5% concentrate of 220,000 tonnes per year. And that delivers a pre-tax NPV of about 2.8 billion and an IRR of just over 100%, payback of 15 months. So this is an economic project. We're thrilled with the results. The mine life at the moment is 10 years. There's additional upside in terms of that life of mine, with a few things we're working on as part of the feasibility. Part of that will be ore sorting. We think we can get greater throughput. But similarly, there'll be existing resource added to this to underpin the feasibility study. So we think we can push that mine life out. But this is a standalone and economic project with quite a low capex comparatively. Importantly, the capex was derived on Q1 2023 numbers. So it doesn't count for the current inflationary environment. And we've assumed a spodumene concentrate price here, long-term average from 26 through to 32 of $2,500 US a tonne. And this was an average sourced by Fast Markets, one of the preeminent PRAs. We have undertaken a really detailed sensitivity analysis. We've interrogated this financial model with vigour. And no surprises here. The two main impactors on the NPV are obviously the exchange rate and the spodumene concentrate price. So let's have a fly through this project. I hope this works. Here we go. There should be some audio. Everything you see in this slide through is included in the scoping study in terms of the capex and the OpEx. Primary jaw crush through the HPGR is about 1,200 mil. This is where the magic happens. Classification and a two-stage float, coarse and fine flotation plus DMS. Dry stack tails. It's going to be very helpful in terms of water consumption, but also from approvals perspective. Carting the product, open tank top through to Kalgoorlie and full logistics study rail down to Esperance. The 4 megawatt solar array. Great. So hopefully that gives you a bit of perspective of the site. Bringing this asset to life is our focus, and we're progressing towards development as quickly as we can. Going forward, feasibility study scoping study segue into feasibility. We've issued tender documents to a number of consultants. That work stream will kick off next month. We're looking to pitch a final investment decision to the board next year. Probably the first half of next year, all going well. And as I said, there's additional drilling that'll feed into the resource. There's a number of really critical surveys and test work going on. Met testing is crucial for that flow sheet design. It's very similar to the Paterson flow sheet, GMS plus 2-stage float. And of course, we're going to be doing a number of separate parallel scoping studies to look at a downstream option as well. And of course, all of the environmental native title heritage approvals are ongoing. Our second project, Marble Bar Lithium project, this is absolutely our sleeper. And just finishing off, I know Chrissy's going to whip me in a minute. This has huge potential, this project. We've got a significant exploration campaign kicking off again this year. It's a much larger system than we anticipated throughout the course of last year. We have $500 million of lithium sitting in the ground at this project at the moment. It's got wonderful upside potential, about 18 million tonnes at 1%. And as I said, we've got a 30,000 metre campaign kicking off. Some really great results here, high grades, and some reasonable intercepts. And the focus this year is going to be targeting our exploration manager, Logan Barber, who I would argue is the best in the business, is going to be focusing on these areas to the northeast. So lots of exciting news to come out of this project this year. And I will finish off, there's a cross section there. But look, this is an asset again, near surface. So we think this will be open pittable. And this is my last slide, Chrissy. Lots to look forward to this year. A lot of work streams running in parallel, exploration of both assets, feasibility, resource upgrades, met testing to come, approvals running in parallel, FID next year, and all going well, we'll have first tonnes in market 26 in the form of a concentrate. So thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. We'll come have a look at your car. Did you actually get to drive that car?
Yes.
Oh, you drove it. Did you drive it really early, like 5 a.m. so no one could crash into you? And you're leaving at 9 this evening, aren't you? Okay. Ronnie Beadle, coming up. You're our second last before we go to Robert Watkins, excuse me. I called you Beadle. I call you by Beadle Resources. I gave you the title. So this is Rob Watkins, everyone. He is a geologist. He's got over 25 exploration experience. He's got a real proven track record of exploration success as well. He was previously a founding executive director, and this is where the name was in my head, at Beadle Resources. And prior to that, exploration manager at Agincourt Resources. He is now the managing director of Carnaby Resources Ltd, which is making really significant strides at its Greater Duchess Copper Gold project, which is located near Mount Isa in Queensland. Please make him very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, and thanks to RIU again for this year for Carnaby to present. Last year, Paul Payne, our non-exec, presented, and that was on the back of a big discovery in Mount Isa, which we're going to focus on today, but there's certainly been a lot more to the story that's come out in the last 12 months, so we're definitely going to run through that. We look at the corporate snapshot there, you can see Carnaby has been going for 4 years almost to the day. We listed back in 2019 through a backdoor listing of Burkitt Minerals at 7.6 cents, and that was to bring in the Tick Hill gold mine and their directors. Obviously, Tick Hill was a gold certainly focus for the company for a period of time. But like all junior explorers, you've always got to reassess. We certainly didn't get much success with TQL itself. And that's what we do. We move on to the next project, and you'll see in about August 2020, we started picking up some ground up in the Pilbara on the back of the De Grey discovery. We certainly acquired some projects there and had some success there with finding intrusion-hosted gold mineralisation. And I guess after that, really, over the period of time in sort of 2021, halfway through to 2021, the copper price started lifting, and we certainly started to have a look at the copper projects we had in Mount Isa because we knew they were significant. And I guess we started drilling up at Nil Desperandum. We knew we were onto something there. We're getting results such as 60 minutes at 1%. The market really did react to that, but it certainly did when we drilled the discovery hole 40 minutes at 4%. That was just over 14 months ago. And since that time, really, we'll run through it in detail, but we've certainly drilled a lot of holes and had 2 more very significant discoveries. So corporately, you'll see we have managed to keep through that period of time of 4 years. We have kept the register really tight. We are well funded with 12.6 million in the bank. In terms of shareholders, I'd just point out Oz Minerals have been great supporters recently, but they've actually been in the background for quite a while. Technically, they really liked the project from a long time ago, so even back in 2019. In terms of the brokerage coverage, we've only just 3 brokers have certainly come on, Euroz, Macquarie and Petra, and that's only happened in December and January, so we're starting to get some recognition there. In terms of the board, myself, Peter and Greg, we've been through a couple of previous companies. We've been together 20 years, very tight, and the same with the team. The exploration team, we've all been together and we really go hard at it. Paul Payne came with Burkett Minerals, and Paul's been a great guy to have on the board. He's probably pretty well known in terms of resource estimator. He did the De Grey resource, and Paul will certainly be heavily involved in the estimation of the copper resource we've got. So I just highlighted the yellow announcements there and the chart, which are all gold, and obviously the switch to copper, which I think in hindsight was obviously a great decision to do on the back of the success. I won't have time today to talk about the WA projects. They are early stage, but they're certainly quite significant, but welcome to come to the booth and run you through those. But it's all about the copper in Mount Isa. So it's worth just looking at Mount Isa, because Mount Isa is one of the great copper districts in the world. You know, there's certainly world-class deposits like Mount Isa itself, Ernest Henry, and a lot of these deposits were found back in the sort of 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And really, there has been a bit of a dearth in the last 20 years of quality deposits. And that's what that's resulted in is a big opportunity for a lot of juniors in the Mount Isa inlier, because a lot of those processing facilities are really hungry for copper. And obviously, if copper goes where everyone talks about it is going to head, then we really think the stage is set in Mount Isa for a big copper revival, and at the junior resource end as well, because there's a lot of copper and a lot of juniors have really got their foot on a lot of good ground. So I think you're going to see a big revival, and we're certainly at the front of the pack, we believe. Again, you'll see our land package there. We certainly started once we made the Nil Desperandum discovery 14 months ago. We rapidly pegged ground to the south because we think there's a really strong corridor of where that mineralisation is tracking. And we'll just touch on that at the end, but certainly we think there's a huge upside. And you'll see, I mean, Mount Isa is a very mature district, no doubt, but I think it is interesting once you make a discovery and then you start looking at that corridor and you realise that the tenements in blue down on the left-hand side there are completely unexplored, literally only a handful of stream sediment sampling, no drilling, no soil sampling. So we have had a great 14 months. We certainly made the Lady Fanny discovery, Nil Desperandum discovery. We quickly acquired the Mount Hope mining lease as well, which we'll talk about in detail. So we think we're in a really special corridor, and this is why we sort of focused on the obviously once we Nil Desperandum, we got the 41 metres at 4%, and things really took off quickly after that. We made the Lady Fanny discovery only a month later, 3 kilometres to the north of Nil Desperandum. And then we recognised that this belt, that we're in. There's two key things about this belt. Obviously, there's some fantastic mineralisation. The mineralisation is highly continuous. It's really shaping up. But the other key is the geophysics. The IP is working exceptionally well in this corridor. And you know, if you go to the east of that, in that grey unit, out to the east side there, there's a lot of IP where the pyrite and other false anomalies tend to occur. But what we've seen in our corridor up to Mount Hope is that every IP anomaly is basically tracking copper sulfide. So that's been a huge a win in terms of the really getting straight to where the copper mineralisation is. So we're just talking about Mount Hope to the north. Again, this is the one we only acquired, you know, mid last year, and we've only really got going on that in the last 3 months before Christmas. And we started at the northern end of the mining lease. You can see there Mount Hope North. Again, the first thing we did here was IP. And we generated some of the biggest IP anomalies we'd seen in the whole belt. And I'd really point out that one of the key positives about this mining lease was that there was no record of any historical drilling, which is pretty hard to believe because this was mined back in the 60s, early 70s, and there is one line out of a government report saying there was 300,000 tonnes at 1.9% copper pulled out of here. So it's hard to believe that this mining lease has never been drilled. And so that was one of the attractions because we could see the mineralisation obviously in the bottom of the pit. So we drilled, the first hole we drilled up to the north was this hole here. You see on the left-hand side, we got a reasonable result, 13 metres at 1. You can see where it's centred right in the middle of the IP anomaly. But we knew the strength of that anomaly was a lot. The source of that was probably off section, and that's what we found when we went to the north. So you can see here, these two sections on the left, this is when we stepped to the north and we started getting some really significant results. 75 metres at 1.7, and interestingly hosted within and on the edge of an intrusion. And you can see the section on the left-hand side, we started getting 15 metres at 2, 41 metres at 1.8, so getting some really significant results. But I guess the real excitement for us has come from the south of this. I would point out the IP anomaly in the middle of the mining lease. You'll see that big one there. Again, we really started out drilling the northern pit and the southern pit areas, targeting where it was obvious to go drilling. But certainly there is an unexplained massive IP anomaly right in the middle, and we are certainly going to target that this year because until we explain that anomaly, we won't stop drilling. So this is what we call Mount Hope Central. Again, all this drilling is our drilling. We have, as announced today, we have a final decision from the Queensland government in terms of the tenement boundary dispute. You can see that the boundary has moved roughly from that green outline to the blue outline, and this process has been going on for about 6 months, back and forth with surveyors, lawyers, a lot of discussion with the mines department, and they've come out with their final decision. So we're pretty happy about that. So what's it allowed us to do is actually now, because we've been avoiding that area in green, you can see, we've now got a whole series of drill holes planned from that platform. And I think that program is literally about to start within the next week. So certainly keep your eye out for those results. But you can see the results that we've been getting. This section here, I'd point to that one. Obviously, it's a really interesting deposit. It's very much controlled or mineralisation favours the quartzite unit. You can see the central sort of that orangey unit. That's about sort of at least 20 metre wide unit, mineralised through the whole length of it, and certainly mineralised on the edges as well. So we're getting some fantastic results there. You can see 30 metres at 3, 101 metres at 1.9, 39 metres at 5.2, which is a recent one we announced. So we're really keen also on the western edge of the pit there, on the northeast lode, where we've been avoiding until now. So here's a long section of that deposit. Obviously, it is wide open. We're getting fantastic results. There is what we call a transition zone in the middle, where the high grade is a chalcopyrite and chalcocite mineralisation. Whether that's a supergene or hypogene or combination of both, we don't know yet, but it certainly it continues to the limit of the drilling to date. Again, I just highlight some of the results there: 60 metres at 3, 30 at 3, 39 at 5.2. And I guess this is certainly rapidly evolving. The three deepest holes you can see there, they were drilled just before Christmas. We announced those results only a week ago, and you can see the tenor of the mineralisation. Interestingly, the deepest hole we've drilled to date is at MHD 60, 32 at 2.3, including 11 at 5, and that the gold is really kicking up in that as well. So we think we've got about 200 metres of strike here, and certainly this is the number one focus for today, for the exploration that's about to commence. So we're just, in terms of the initial discovery at Neil Esperanum, this is a fantastic deposit. It's a breccia shoot, a breccia pipe. It has limited strike. This plan is a long section plan of the pierce points. It has a strike length of about 100 metres. It's about 20 to 50 metres wide, true width, and it plunges about 50 degrees to the southwest end to the bottom left hand of the page. And certainly the continuity on that breccia is quite amazing. A little bit lower grade at the surface. You're looking at sort of 50 metres at 0.7 true width, and then through this sort of the middle part of it, or the upper part is, it kicks up to about 1%, 60 metres at 1%, and then you get into the sweet spot, which is the lower half of the deposit, which is anywhere between 20 to 40 metres wide at 2 to 4%. But we think we're happy to get this into initial preliminary resource at now and just take it from there. But we certainly haven't stepped outside of this breccia pipe, very similar to sort of in terms of style and mineralogy to Eloise. Lady Fanny, this is the third discovery. This is a fantastic deposit, and the key here is it's right at the surface. There was some historical workings there, just 10 metres deep, very shallow into the sulphide. All this drilling is our drilling. Again, this is one of these remarkable old mining lease areas which happen in the eyes where there might have been a mining lease pegged in the 60s or 70s. They've hung onto it for 30 to 40 years sometimes. That mining lease is faded away, but those prospectors didn't like drilling back in the day. So an amazing opportunity that this was sitting there without hadn't been drilled. So you can see the course has got a core strike length of about 300 metres, and certainly when you're taking the lower grade northern southern edges of that shoot, you're looking at 500 metres strike. There's some of the sort of better results up the top: 68 metres at 2.4, 32 at 2.6, 13 at 4.4. So the key, and again, we think this is enough to get this into a good open pittable resource at stage 1 open pit, but we really have only drilled it down to 150 metres depth. We tried a couple of deeper holes, which you can see down the bottom right-hand side there. They went deeper than planned. A bit hard to explain, but the structure had swung a little bit to the west, which means the holes intersected the structure deeper down. But certainly, it looks like there is a strong plunge. This looks like a strong plunge like this, about 40 degrees. Certainly, we think this is the key area here. Where we're doing this pretty shortly. And the next slide I'm going to show you is just the IP, and it's a 3D diagram. Just keep in mind with this section, this is the northernmost drilling at Lady Fanny. There is no holes to the north of this. So if you look at this is all 3D, so 3D IP, north's to the right of the page. That long section we're looking at is just in here. That northernmost hole is right there. It's pretty easy to see that this thing is completely open to the north. It's 1.2 kilometres of potential strike to the north of Lady Fanny, completely undrilled. So we've just done a heritage survey in there. We're pushing access in there, and this is to me this is our second highest priority drill target. But you can see how well the IP is working. There's Neil Esperanum. It lights up like a Christmas tree. You've got to be careful with the IP though. You can, if you're in the wrong orientation, you can be a bit of like a halo. So you really got to understand the geology in terms of the IP. And this, again, Burke and Wills is an interesting one. So Lady Fanny, this is the old mining lease area, which I talked about, which we own 100% of. There's Lady Fanny, extremely highly continuous over 400 metres. Burke and Wills is a really interesting deposit as well. It's about 400 metres to the west. It's parallel lode. We've only drilled about, there's all the holes we've drilled at Lady Fanny. The last two holes we drilled, we got 6 metres at 6.7, including 4 at about 10. And that's very close to true width. You see there's a section. This thing, it goes right to the surface. The continuity on this mineralisation is remarkable. You can see there's the results. It's not going to be the biggest deposit in the world, but it's going to be north of 2%, and it's going to be open pittable. The southernmost drill hole we've got there is 5 metres at almost 4%, and likewise to the north, 5 metres at 2. We just step out now, and again, we're only just talking about a tiny section of our tenement package. You can see this is the Lady Fanny corridor. Lady Fanny there, heading up to the north. There's those untested IP anomalies. There's Nildesbrandum. We flew this magnetics. This is 50-metre line space magnetics. This fault hosts Nildesbrandum, runs up there, dipping to the southeast, hosts the breccia chute there, and swings north-south and joins up to Lady Fanny. So there's a huge amount of work to do here in terms of this corridor. This is all the drilling in green. All the drill holes are in green, so you can see how wide open it is to the south. And we really do believe that this corridor does swing this way, heads down this way, and then we really got some great targets to the south. And zooming out again, we're only talking about. This is the area we've been looking at. We're only talking about the top quarter of the tenement package. This is where Nildesbrandum swinging down to the southwest. We think this corridor is obviously pretty conceptual, but there's certainly workings. There's some fantastic magnetic targets. If you look at that one, any geologist will look at that and think that's a fantastic target. It's under a little bit of cover, not much, just about 5 metres of cover. It's enough to mask the geochemistry. So now we're zooming out to the whole tenement package now. And again, this is the corridor we're really keen on. We've only been talking about this tiny little section up here. We're looking at 100 kilometre strike there. So, again, this is all completely unexplored, but we really think this is a strong structural corridor where the mineralisation is likely to go, and this will be worked up over several years. And one of the last slides, second last slide, is metallurgy. We'll have to go to the metallurgy results. Look at the presentation online, but certainly exceptional recoveries and next. Right.
Rob, I was going to say, come back and say thank you nicely. So it looks beautiful on the ASX presentation. You have got one of the biggest bloody presentations ever. I was up the back there. I had to go out. My apologies, because I tried to do myself an injury having a coughing fit with the large lolly that I got from one of our presenters off the stage. So my apologies there. So I lost track of time, but you did very, very well. So you definitely got your money's worth at Carnaby this week. But the thing is that when we're doing our presentations too as well, don't let yourself rush through at the end. Just tease them. Bring them out to the booth. Get them out there. Max Geo's out there with a bottle of Frio gin to suck you in. Have you been out to Max Geo? There's lots of little great competitions going on around the place. Right. We have one last speaker before the break, and this is she, Kaz de Luca. Hello and welcome. She is the accidental geologist kicking some serious goals. She started as a field assistant. She thought mining's got a bit of a potential. She almost became... Are there any metallurgists in the room? Any metallurgists? Any of you? No, it's not a lot of fun, is it? No, and that's exactly what Kaz thought. She said, actually, I think I'll become a geologist. They have more fun. So that's what she moved into. She's actually a really highly qualified exploration specialist. She has a proven record of discovery success in both near mine and also in greenfield environments, and an extensive career in exploration and mining that actually spans more than 3 decades. So pretty impressive. She's joining us today to talk about Novo Resources, where she holds the role of General Manager Exploration. Please make her welcome.
Robbie must have run away with it. You really don't want me to. That's all right. Hello, everyone. And thanks very much for inviting us to speak here at RIU. Novo is very pleased to be here. I'm really just going to talk about geology. I've listened to a dozen of talks today, and there's everything from high-end mining to absolute investor specials, but this is about geology. We've got a few corporate slides at the very end, which we might not get to given the timing. So we have a huge tenement package in the Pilbara, and we also have 2 tenements in Victoria, which are in joint venture at the moment. And between these areas, we've got really 4 major projects that we are now focusing on, bringing back to the gold focus for exploration for Novo. And yes, this is the statement that you'll find on our website if you want to go into a lot of detail. We do have over 10,000 square kilometres of ground in the Pilbara. And obviously, we're working across such a large land holding. We work with 7 traditional owner groups, and we are very much aware that we want to generate really good relationship builds with them. We pay our respects to all members of these Indigenous communities and to elders past, present and emerging. Okay, so straight into it, because we have a lot to talk through. As I said, we've got 4 main exploration focus areas now, and we're accelerating exploration across all of them this year. We've had time in the last 2 field seasons to really get on top of the gold orogenic gold systems in the Pilbara, and now we're really drill ready for most of these programs. The Egina Gold Camp, where Besha is a current and primary focus, we'll talk about in a little bit more detail. We're also developing new ideas in the Mosquito Creek Basin around Nullagine. We have work around the Bellary Dome out of Paraburdoo, and Belltop is our grouped project in Victoria. So most explorationists in the room will know that really it's all about location, location and location. This is a great land holding that we've got in the Pilbara. It's over 10,000 square Ks. We've got, let me just get this right. Okay, up in here, we've got over 200 square kilometres of the Malina Basin, with Hemi just sitting off up in the east-northeast of us at 10.5 million ounces at the moment. We've got nearly 800 square Ks of the Mosquito Creek Basin that we've put together, amalgamating several groups over the last couple of years. We're working around Paraburdoo, and we've also got a high level of prospects, and we've done a little bit of work, but we're really not going to be nickel copper specialists. So we're in the process of divesting our base metals and some of our battery metals. So we'll go straight into Egina. We're calling this a gold camp. I think it's a gold camp. It's 80 kilometre plus strike length. And in the north at Besha is one of our main, oops, wrong one. I knew I was going to do this. This is one of our main targets out through here. And then right down in the south, it's a little bit of a mouthful, but Nunyerry North is in the south of the district. Really important projects for us. We think both of which hold significant potential for discovery in 2023, and we'll be drilling frenetically as soon as we can get onto the ground at both of these places. We are also looking to work a little more in the Yandiyarra Reserve, which is this purple outline in here. As you can see, there's a bunch of prospects that are really high prospectivity, high-grade gold in there. We know from historical results. We know from just prospecting activity. There are places in there called the Potato Patch, which just had, potato-sized nuggets that came out of it. We've tracked the structural trends through there. We know it's a fertile trend. The whole corridor runs from down here in the north all the way up through here and then heads off to Hemi in the east-northeast. Going into a little bit more detail. So we're sitting now at the top end of the Egina area. So that yellow blob in there is what we're calling Besha. The main target area is around 20 square kilometres. It has minimal cover, and one of our main projects already, just on broad space drilling, has got a 2 kilometre strike length of anomalous golden pathfinders, which, you know, they just vector us straight into where we need to do follow-up drilling. We've completed a 32,000 metre drill program, which I'm going to show you now. So this is this northern part of the area is where we focused. The trends that we identified as major targets just from desktop work, there is cover, as I said, but it's minimal. So we've got some pretty grunty data sets now of gravity, air and mags. We've started to do some additional electrical geophysics, and it's all really looking very good, and it's pointing us towards that corner at the moment up in here. We know that arsenic and antimony work really well as pathfinders, and it's no secret that in this district, as well as the Mosquito Creek Basin, they do work well, and that's what we're using. We've got an extra 20,000 or so metres of air core follow-up drilling ready to roll with some prospects such as Heckmar, Irvin, Benatti and Lowe, all ready for drilling. This is really just to show you some of the intercepts. Really good numbers. They need infill, obviously. We started at 640 metre line spacings. We were looking for a kilometre anomaly. We were looking for a hemi. We've got a series of really interesting east-west structures, as well as this north-south corridor that we really like. And then occasionally you get some really strange things like this intercept here, 4 metres at 3.5 grams silver plus lead plus zinc on what we think is a big sort of structurally controlled intrusive in here in the middle of Heckmar. So plenty to be going on with, high grade, really high prospectivity as far as I'm concerned, and priority 1 for us. So moving down to the south in this district, in the Edgina Gold Camp, we have Nunyerry North. It's been quite difficult physically to access through here. All of this work's been done by several helicopter-supported programs, and it's really just been what we could do in and out of a chopper. So we've got soil sampling, we've done some prospecting, we've done mapping, we've done rock chip sampling. Sorry, I should have mentioned it's a joint venture with the Creasy Group, so it's 70-30. And look, we really like this one. I think this is one of the best soil anomalies I've seen in a very long time. It's coherent. It's got actual samples over 1 gram per tonne, nearly 18 samples over 1 gram per tonne, plus assays up to 2.3 in soil samples, 2.3 grams per tonne. That's just, you know, that's pristine. It's first pass, and we just need to get in there and drill it. So we're very close to having our heritage work for access all cleared, and then we just really need to get the drill rigs in and roll up and drill this thing. The next one, as we move south out of Parabadoo onto the Bellary Dome, we have an option on this tenement here with Bellary Dome JV, Josh and crew, who I think are here today. Again, we really like this one. It's a window in the Fortescue, we think. It shows anomalous basement mineralisation. We've found several different styles of gold mineralisation, as well as the Bellary guys are chasing base metals. There's really significant and extensive alteration, which I haven't seen for a long time. So we're chasing this one. We'll have just a quick close-up. So this is the guys mapping, lots of contorted and altered vein systems in altered rocks. Again, great rock chips over ounce dirt. Soil sampling worked really well and identified a gold, silver, lead, antimony anomaly. And we think that the whole thing trends down here. And a bit further, almost a kilometre away, we've got another soil anomaly that seems to be the same thing. So we think that it's just been a little bit masked by cover, really, transported cover. Again, this one's close to really good infrastructure. Parabadoo's really only half an hour or less away, and we're ready to drill it. I have a quick drink. Give me 30 seconds extra. Moving across now then to Nullagine. We've amalgamated nearly 800 square k's of the Mosquito Creek Basin. We all know it's highly prospective. There's gold been found in 40 pits that Millennium mined back for the last decade, including the Golden Eagle pit, which is a fantastic deposit. But now we want more big pits. So we're looking at a new approach. We're looking for extensions to known systems. We're looking for fertile structures. We're looking for new structures, and we're also looking at targets undercover. And this is an example of what we're finding. This is just really from the last year or so. So we've extended the Middle Creek line out here at Finucane. This is the area right here is where the original Millennium ground finished up. That they didn't actually have it, the extension of the tenure through here. So at Finucane, we've got around a 5-kilometre extension already in soils. This is an arsenic anomaly, but it's supported by spotty gold. And I think we can probably take that out to almost 10 kilometres of trend to cover. And we're also confirming this additional trend that we have up here at Seychelles. So this one's Mosquito, the Middle Creek Mosquito in the Mosquito Creek Basin. This one's Blue Speck, and the Calidus have had a new discovery over here a bit further west, and then Seychelles. So we've got, just to begin with, 15,000 metres of air core looking at targets undercover, looking at these extensions. Need a little bit more work to tidy this up, but we'll be there by the middle of the year, hopefully. Moving over to Victoria, we have 50% interest in both the Malmesbury and the Queen's projects with GBM and Kalamazoo, respectively, in Victoria's Bendigo zone. We have done some work that was already partly in train with the joint venture. We're combining these two projects now under Novo management and into one bigger project we're calling Belltopper. We're building a 3D model of all the information we have. We've got a huge amount of historical work, broad geological modelling, LiDAR, IP lines. Everything's actually pointing towards having a dense network of gold reefs around Belltopper itself in close proximity to an intrusive that's got gold and alteration all through it. So many targets there coming along in the middle of the year. This is just a summary, and you can read this at your own leisure. Again, this is our board, very supportive board, lots of money going into the ground, well funded. You can look at this yourselves. And this is the take-home proposition. We are a gold-focused explorer. We do have a huge tenement package, and we've got lots of things that we've come across, lots of different add-ons. We've already done a lithium divestment deal. We'll do the same with base metals. We're focusing on gold, but don't be any doubt that we're focusing on gold. We've got an aggressive exploration program, a dominant land holding. We've got 4 major projects that are ready to drill right now. And we want the rigs spinning throughout 2023. And I've got 19 seconds to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kaz, rounding us out nicely. I'm going to let you go very quickly because we've kept you nearly 12 minutes over time. We'll be back in here at 4:10. I'll ring the bell. We've got our last session, and our last session is 70 minutes of 10-minute speed dating with potential clients for your investment portfolio. All right, and then I'll give